got a question for you.
Come on.
If you're Baker Mayfield, and I think this is one of the topics that we haven't talked about already, because I was having a conversation about this with league sources out there, and I'm curious what you guys think on the show. If you're Baker Mayfield and you know that you have 18.85, whatever it is, 8 million coming to you guaranteed off of this option, but the Browns are sitting on you because they're like, we're paying you anyway. Let's say a team like the Panthers are like, well, we want the Browns to pay this ratio. Do you accept a pay cut or some sort of restructure to lessen the cap, whatever, hurt for this year in order to make sure that you get it going? Or do you risk possibly having to sit out a year, or better yet, coming back to the Browns? Because I'll tell you this before you just answer. Per what my understanding is, people understand that there's a perception out there on Baker, okay? And if he sits out and holding his ball in the sandbox, that it could look like that even more, and that's a leverage point. So I'm asking you, what do you do?
Yeah, so if you got to think about Baker's confidence in himself. So if I'm Baker and I'm incredibly confident, I know that this next year's money isn't going to be my wealth money. My wealth money is going to come from the deal that I play afterwards. So would I ever tell somebody to say, no, you don't? You're going to get 18.5 million guaranteed regardless. Do you want to renegotiate down? Would be terrible business. But if he thinks he's a guy and that's going to be the only way to give him a starting option somewhere, you could see how maybe he would negotiate that. But there's nobody that's going to let him do that, Josina. Nobody's going to let him take less than 18.5 million, which he's already guaranteed. Don't you think?
Well, I definitely wouldn't do it. But the other fact, no, I know, because I want, Pat, I want all my money.
Everybody does. Yeah.
Everybody wants all their money, right? But the other factor here is playability. When are you playing? And does that hurt him to sit? And because here's the other thing I understand, like, as far as the Browns situation, if we're paying you, we're going to get something out of you. Okay, people keep talking, oh, you're not gonna play for the Browns. Listen to your girl. If they're gonna pay Baker Mayfield, you're not gonna just sit at home and not get nothing out of it. So what I'm saying is, if it were me, yes, I want my money. But if it affects me playing, and we got to go on the tape from last year, and I'm not playing, how does that impact my market? Do you think it impacts teams wanting him next year, Pat?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I understand completely what you're saying. Yeah, there's a lot of the Baker Mayfield situation has become quite a pretzel too, because we saw clips, the OBS thing, right? Odell Beckham Sr. putting that clip out, and then nobody really fighting it. By the way, nobody really fought. Like, nobody in the locker room was like, "Yeah, he's lying" or anything like that. And then there's clips of Baker walking down the sideline after something bad happened, and nobody talks to him. Not even like the kicker or the punter gives the starting quarterback like a, hey, it's all right. So something had to have gone completely toxic there. And in the NFL, once you're labeled somebody that's either toxic or a distraction, that shit is with you forever, like literally forever. So if I'm Baker, I think I'm trying to play and get that taste out of people's mouth as soon as possible, to your point.
Even if that involves taking a pay cut?
Yeah, I'm not doing that, but Baker, Is the Baker news going to be the next big news, you think? The Deshaun news? Seems like Cleveland is the focal point of a lot of these offseason convos, Josina. We know you were just there.
Well, we know that the league right now prefers to try to get this thing resolved with Deshaun Watson prior to training camp. I mean, I think that's just fair for the Browns to have an idea of who their quarterback is, and for everybody in the league to just move on from this, because this has just been going on for some time. And I also say that because I got a text, from a league source around the Panther situation, who on Friday was telling me that nothing was coming down imminently. But I did hear going into the weekend, and I tweeted about this, that per my understanding, there are people from the organization, I'll just leave it at that, kind of looking into Baker's situation, still asking questions relative to the football side and the personal side. And what I mean by that is obviously things that don't have to just do with X's and O's.
Josina, how much, is there an estimate of how much they're going to have to pick up of his salary for the Browns to actually let him go?
So the last thing I heard, and my understanding is that the Browns are willing to do whatever is fair. And obviously, whatever the interpretation of fair is kind of differs between both teams. But one thing I've been saying, AJ, is that and also Pat and everybody else, is that this for me is not really a money thing, right? Because the Browns have 42 million in cap space. The Panthers have 25. And when you're looking at Baker's salary in 18, this is not like something that the Panthers can't afford. To me, this is about principle and about philosophy and what both teams feels like should happen per the situation. So it's not really about affordability. It's about what do I think I should pay, because I know eventually you have to get rid of Baker. And from their side is, what should we not pay, because we know that he's coming there to be a starter. And right now you have quarterbacks that are making upward of 40 million in this league. So when you think about the option amount at 18, that's not really anything, Pat. I mean, that's not really nothing. So this is all about, to me, pride and philosophy off what should happen. But look at this. It's easy to back off of this, right? In May and June, when we're all getting ready to do our Nantucket vacations. I'm sure y'all going to the Maldives, the Bees, or wherever the heck y'all going, right? Once y'all finish that. But what I'm saying is when we get to September, August, or whatever, it's a little harder to play that off.
Okay, do you think Baker's going to be on the move for sure? You think that's a done deal? They're going to end up having to figure it out?
Well, eventually you have to do it. But I really think a lot of this also comes down to Baker. Like I said, I know for a fact, guys, that the Browns are willing to do what's fair, obviously, right? But you have some kind of mitigating circumstances with Deshaun's situation. And per what I was hearing, because people are like, well, they got to cut him because eventually he has to go. Well, not necessarily. One, because everything that I've heard is that why are we going to cut Baker when we have to pay him anyways? So we might as well get something out of it. And that's not just to sit at home with your ball in the sandbox talking about, I'm not going to play.